conversation I'm very excited about, our next conversation. We're a very diverse, ecosystem. And I remember when I first joined this industry and went to Mobile World Congress the first time, it was, I think, 2014. And I walked around, I had no idea what to expect because I'd never actually been outside of South Africa. And I went to Europe. And I attended, obviously, as someone, working in mobile payments, very young, on my high heels in whatever, wearing a badge. And I noticed that so many of the meetings I was conducting, so many of the people I was meeting, it was all men. No offense to men, but, it was. And I've really seen a change in that over the last couple of years, the last 10 years, the last 15 years. Today we have a panel conversation focused on mobile payments across Africa. But we did want to take a moment to invite panelists that are women in this field to give us that unique perspective of where those two worlds collide. So the world of being a woman, a professional woman in that line of work, but also the technicalities and the opportunities and the challenges we face in the payment sector. So it'll be a combined conversation on both. Let me start by asking our panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Misha Matee. I'm here firstly as, like Anzelle said, one of the women that are in the sector, and very actively so, from Vodacom Group. I do the partnering for digital lifestyle services for Vodacom Group.
Hi everyone. Am I audible? Yes, I am. Hi, everybody. My name is Oreratile, Itumeleng, also known as Ray. So I am in the MTN South Africa Digital Services team, currently working in segment integration, go-to-market, and strategy. I've been in the WASP ecosystem for about 3.5 years now, and I do have a telco history.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I'm the CEO of ViaMedia. ViaMedia is 22 years old this year, and I believe we spearheaded the formulation of WASPA. So we were back in the day. I've been in the industry almost 15 years. Have a huge passion for digital. ViaMedia is very big in gamification, very big in content, quite a big player in South Africa. Still haven't quite cracked Africa. It's been a tough one to crack in many ways, but we are spearheaded to go that way in the near future.
Thank you. I'm Mounia. I'm the regional director for Africa at Digital Virgo. I over the 15 years, experience in telecom and digital content services, I had the chance and the privilege to work in the various regions within across Africa, and also the privilege to be part of the team that launched, our activity in the continent. And Digital Virgo is a long story in Africa, more than 15 years now. And active in more than 15 countries with people in the ground, 100 people. And our focus is on innovation, growth in mobile payment, either DCB and mobile money payments, if I give the picture.
Thank you, and thank you all of you for agreeing to chat with us today. There's another microphone over there, if you guys want to use that one as well. But let's start with you, Ray, from an M&O point of view, and thank you both to you and John and the rest of the MTN team for joining us today. Mobile payments, like direct carrier billing in South Africa and the rest of the continent, is doing a lot to unlock or drive financial inclusion. And obviously, women play a role in that in two ways. One, as consumers of these products that are monetized and driven by things like mobile payments like DCB, but also as stakeholders in the industry. Can you talk us through those two roles that women play as either the one or the other, and the role that mobile payments play in driving that inclusion?
Absolutely. I think the exciting role that telcos have in the ecosystem is, if we start to think about, there's, a school of thought around the levels of the digital divide, right? fundamentally at the core. So right at the bottom, you have digital access, where you have access to basic equipment. And I think tech companies, telcos, have really done a good job solving for that. So people are connected. People are moving to smartphones. I think in our ecosystem, 4 out of every 5 users have a smartphone. So the access layer is getting solved. As we move up, you have a literacy layer where people just basically know how to connect to the internet, dial a USSD string. But there's a third layer, which is digital participation, where people actually make meaningful use of the access to participate in the digital economy, right? And I think, firstly, as telcos, with DCB, with digital services, VAS offerings that we offer, it's people's first touch point a lot of time to the digital economy, right? And so when you kind of get that role that we play, and you understand that for a woman in Africa somewhere as a consumer, when you first interface with those services, once you finally get you can participate in the digital economy, what it means for you. It changes a lot of people's lives, because for women, first of all, you get access to autonomy, financial autonomy. A lot of women depend on men for finances. And for the first time, you actually have this mobile wallet that gives you a little bit of autonomy. We know that women make decisions that impact their families. If you touch one woman, you touch multiple livelihoods. And so sometimes when we go to market with various solutions, we don't always consider the impact as far as well as, we deal a lot in the entertainment space, but there's a lot of utility, like fintech, of course. The utility that comes out and how it catapults people into be able to fundamentally change their lives. I think there's a lot of power in that, in the impact it has on the individual. And I think as women then in the workplace, our role is to, how do we bring a voice and perspective of the type of services that go to market, how we reach our go-to-market strategies. How do we reach the consumer who may be on that path of towards digital participation, where they maybe just need the literacy. How do we move them up, give them the right tools to actually participate in the digital economy?
I love that go-to-market strategy point of view that you're bringing, because I think we sometimes underestimate the importance, perhaps as digital content providers or as payment aggregators, of the fact that really is a ladder. Like, I can't be, we sometimes launch these awesome services and people can create an avatar in the metaverse, but I need to somewhere learn to dial a USSD string first and build a sort of confidence. So talking about the content that's available, in that space and that's being consumed and promoted. This ranges from healthcare to edtech. We heard mention of agriculture earlier. Misha, you in your role are uniquely poised to see, sort of the sum of everything that's available out there. What are the services that you think are really making the difference and will continue to make the difference and drive this inclusion and growth that we're referring to?
Yeah, so it's important that we also try to do that mind shift and move away from the misnomer of inclusivity only sits in the rural areas, because we find that a lot of people that are looking for economic inclusion are youth that are tech savvy purely because of the economic situation of South Africa and Africa as a whole, with a very, very large unemployment rate. And in that unemployment rate sits about 45% of those that are youth, that are educated but just cannot find a workplace. And there's a few, and I'll go through them in summary, but just in the question in itself, how does inclusivity bring about empowerment? You cannot have empowerment without the inclusivity. It's just the two go hand in hand, and you cannot have the empowerment without any inclusivity. So in terms of content that we look for, that play a strategic and a really crucial part in how we get inclusivity, And this is obviously globally. We see it with countries that are obviously now more developed than South Africa and have much better inclusivity. But inclusivity is a global. It is a global issue. First, and Oreratile obviously went over the financial inclusivity in terms of mobile payments, mobile apps, etc. Skills training as well, where we look for content that is trustworthy. So if you put yourself in the consumer's shoes or the hiring person's shoes, if that person comes to you and says, well, I've done a course online, that hiring person must have confidence that that course is trustworthy,
Actually is worth
that it's qualified. So you have the struggle of content providers that just put together educational content, and at the end of the day, is the customer getting the value out of what they would have paid for? And it's also very sensitive in terms of the price point, because people that are looking to do online training or online skill sets or any online informational training are looking to get something that's trustworthy, that they can put on their CV. That if somebody sees it on their CV, they know that this is something that they can rely on and that person has the skill set for sure. Yeah. In terms of e-commerce and marketplace, this is shifted quite a lot from people going and downloading apps or work apps, etc. And the e-commerce and marketplace is now gone into social media, where we have Facebook Marketplace, you've got Instagram Marketplace. I had the question yesterday for the lady from TikTok, when is TikTok Shop getting to South Africa? But it's so poised for South Africa because the low cost of having to put your marketplace on a social media, you building community, you engaging your community, and your marketplace is in the same app.
Yeah.
It is such a powerful mechanism.
And it's unbelievable, the uptake of that in the market.
Exactly.
I mean, I visited my mother recently up in Johannesburg, and it's like, oh, that's a nice, this, that, or the other, or cupboard. Where did you buy it? It's Facebook, everything off Facebook. And a lot of it even for free, where someone had just said, come collect this, whatever.
100%. So if you get somebody that's done design, a student that's done design, and that's unemployed, it's perfect for them because they can showcase their skill set, they can showcase their inventory, and it's less cost to them. There's no storage. The marketing is in your community. It's a repost.
Yeah.
It's people or your community reposting you. It's free marketing.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And the social media platforms to boost your post or to promote your post is actually quite cost effective as well. But content in that space in terms of e-commerce and marketplace is very essential for inclusivity.
And is that the importance, like you said, of ensuring that content piece is actually trustworthy, that service is that also something that you do in-house?
So as for DCB, a lot of the trust comes in the brand. Yeah. So do you trust the brand to bill you? And we've done or come a long way from, and the previous panel spoke about security, the fraud on securing the customer's payment, working with WASPA to ensure that we protect the consumer, and while still keeping a profitable ecosystem. So I think with a lot of collaboration in the market, a lot of partnerships where it's trusted brands coming in, the customer trusts you, and your UX or your customer experience is an experience where the customer knows that if something goes wrong, they have that recourse of going back and either getting a refund or getting some help from the billing partner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something, just to touch on that we saw as part of the data that was presented at the Carrier Billing Summit was that there's also a trust element in seeing my MNO's brand when I'm about to make a payment, because I'm familiar with my MNO's brand. And I know we've had this conversation many times in the past within the WASPA environment where we're talking about, for example, carrier-hosted payment pages or whatever, saying, oh, we don't want this logo or it being perceived as a bad thing that the carrier logo is on the page. It's actually a good thing because there's a trust element there. So moving with a view on the rest of the continent, Mounia, in your role, I think you're well poised to tell us, look, over and above the ways that Ray and Misha have highlighted how payments and then the content, respectively, are driving financial inclusion and opening up the digital economy to women and other community or people in the community. What are the other ways, from your point of view, especially with a broader African view, that the industry could be driving inclusion and could be really, unlocking the opportunities that mobile payments hold inherently?
Well, in addition to what Misha and Ray shared, I think it's interesting also to look at new payment methods, alternative and complementary payment methods that are emerging in regions that I know a bit well and better than others, like West and North Africa, where DCB still, and while it remains, the predominant payment method for, especially entertainment, we see that mobile money is starting to gain really traction for really highly, relevant content and services that will really match the daily needs of the users and the women users. I think that mobile money is becoming really crucial for African growth, for sure, because if you see only West Africa alone, mobile money represents like 40% of total transaction value. So it's really underscore the importance, and it's for example, in countries like Ivory Coast or Senegal, it's becoming for women a gateway to access for services and wide variety of services beyond traditional payment method. We seen, access to and purchase of TV programs, video streaming through mobile money, as well as digital libraries, or even, learning platforms, language platforms. So I think it's important to work on these services and this solution to make it more accessible and more convenient, also for women to empower and to invest in solutions that will, support their family lives, their education, or even their professional skills. To give you some context, in West Africa hosts like 200 million active mobile money accounts, and 45% of it is belongs to women. So it's really a powerful tool to empower their financial security, allow them also to pay more securely, more independently, and really opening new opportunities. And it's interesting also that we are starting to work in East Africa, in Kenya and Ethiopia. We having a team there, and we're starting to also to experience mobile money there. And it is so widely used that it's actually used as and serves even as the only payment method for daily transaction, from buying grocery or buying fuel. So it illustrates how much is central in people's lives there, and it's a high potential to access services, whatever it could be, cultural, entertainment, education, and it's a payment method that you cannot really overlook, for sure. So I think that for us also the idea is to, if we look ahead, DCB would for sure remain as a key driver for content services, but we see that mobile money is gaining and is proving to be highly effective when there is a strong demand and when there is local relevancy. So I think that working with the mobile telecom operators, fintech providers, content creators, we can really expand this digital ecosystem to empower, users and women users to really impactful and meaningful content for them.
Are, in your opinion, are enough digital service content providers experimenting or exploring, offering mobile money as a payment method for their digital content services as opposed to DCB or alongside DCB?
Well, not yet enough, I would say, yet, because we are all a bit comfortable with one payment method that seems to be working easy in terms of user flow. It's a challenging, payment method. We know it's the future. We know we cannot overlook this payment method, but still, there are really few players that really are into it, to dig into it, into how we can really make it more easier, more accessible, and that it's not only the work of content providers, it's also telecom operators. And the thing is that usually it's completely divided from an entity point of view within the telecom operator, for example. It's with the content services. So we are here also to try to do this bridge, because we know quite well the specificities of these communities of each market, and also the way people are using some entertainment services or educational services. For sure, it's also a mobile payment method that needs real needs, that should meet the real needs. It's not, and there is a lot of awareness around it, so it changes the whole way you consider services.
Exactly. Also because, like you just said, if I'm paying for something using my airtime, like airtime is intangible. Like, what's airtime? It's like I click and I've paid via my airtime, but I'm not actually feeling it from my pocket. But the moment I'm making a payment from my mobile money account, that's the same kitty of money that I'm using to pay my children's school fees or whatever. So there's a different barrier there, but definitely, obviously, an opportunity. And I like that you also mentioned, your visibility of what's happening in the community, of speaking with the operators, whatever. And I suppose that's the importance of that local presence, right? Yeah. In terms of understanding the local ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. It needs to have people on the ground that would test this payment method that we know, all of us, we know as a transaction money, to send money to our other people, not really for paying for services. And this is something that needs to be into the market, to understand how people are using mobile money right now. I was mentioning Senegal, Ivory Coast. This is really experimentation, tool that we are, working on day to day with all the players of the market.
Excellent, thank you. So, Misha and Ray, you both referred earlier to trust and the importance of trust, in the payment process and of vetting your content services, etc. Samantha, how is trust actually amplified by having a woman in a leadership role, and the importance of women in leadership roles? So obviously, in your role as CEO, how have you seen that impact not only on the B2B side, so transactional side, but also in terms of the services that you're rolling out and the services that you direct to consumer providing?
Sure, okay. I always come from best person for the job. I've never been a big feminist, but there is an element of being a woman that has a different trajectory. If I think, okay, take a step back, as a woman in my leadership role, what have I been able to depart onto the company that I work? I think women essentially have got a high level of empathy. I think there's quite a soft, nurturing side to a woman. I think women have the ability to see and connect with men and women. Sometimes men don't see the level that a woman needs to connect at. I think women connect very well with other women. They understand the juggling of having a family, having children, having to have a job, having the whole bang shoot in one. So I think there's quite a big role to play for women in our industry when it comes to not just working with the numbers. I think when you talk payments specifically, a lot of people are attracted to the payments industry because they are numbers people. They like statistics and data. They like tech. But what a woman could bring to that party is the added human element. And sorry, men, I'm not saying that you're not adding to that component, but if I'm asked that question, I think women look beyond the numbers. Women sometimes have the ability to see the human on the other side of the screen and really speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like you say, sorry men, like I said a blanket sorry to all men
Yes,
at the
thank
start
you. Putting
of
me
the
on the
session.
spot
So
there,
you don't,
putting the
as
men to the
speakers
side.
now, you have free reign. Like just go for it, because I delivered the blanket apology at the start. But no, you're very right about that the intuitive element, and to be honest, in one of my previous roles I had, I used to sort of be reprimanded because perhaps too often, when asked for a reason to justify, what it is, the case I was making, or my argument I was putting, when asked for a reason to justify, I just said, because my intuition tells me that this is the IP range we should be targeting, or whatever. But, okay, so moving towards a similar theme that we've had in a couple of our other panels, if I can just do sort of one quick pass going each of you. Two things. One, what would you think would be the next big thing to be focusing on in terms of the role of, specifically with the viewpoint of women in payments? And if you want to add to the second part, if you had advice for women, because I mean, young girls, obviously, you think we all grow up wanting to be ballet dancers, whatever. We all grow up wanting to do B2B sales and wanting to be in mobile payments, obviously. No, but seriously, I know in the past at these events we've had a couple of students from UCT in attendance, so I thought maybe nice if you would like to, obviously it's being recorded as well, so if you would like to offer one piece of advice to young women entering the industry or entering a predominantly male-dominated industry or tech industry, what would you give them?
Okay. So the first part of the question, I've attended quite a bit of the fintech. Unfortunately, a lot of the fintech has been focused more to how corporate can integrate fintech. I've not been able to attend many that speak to inclusivity or empowerment at that. So for me, I'd really like to see how fintech is going to evolve to enable inclusivity, especially in South Africa. It's the buzzword, and I'd like to see how it's going to lend itself. Mounia spoke around mobile money being so important. And in South Africa's population, over 95% of South Africans have got a mobile device or are on mobile network, and only about, I think, approximately 73% of the population is banked. So John spoke about it in his session where DCB adds to the African environment and South Africa purely because of the large unbanked market. And out of that 73% of banked, and that's including traditional banking, less than 50% of that banked community are women.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'd really like to see, how fintech is not going to just be a buzzword for big corporate and for making the numbers, but also for inclusivity.
Okay.
And on the second part, I would say never apologize for being a woman, never make that apology, and be as authentic as you are. I mean, you're there and you're in the position and you're in that industry purely because you've got the skill, like Samantha said. It's your skill first. So never ever apologize that you're a woman and you're in that leadership position.
Hundreds. Thank you, Misha. Ray?
I think when it comes to fintech, we need to move past transaction-based, the utility in that how do we really empower and educate for saving, for business, for this. And I think there's a lot of room there in the growth of the fintech space to say, how do we move it from you're just able to transact to you're financially empowered? And I think there's really some room there. My advice for younger women is occupy space and don't just take a seat at the table, but really have a voice. And to the men, be an ally. I think it's quite important to notice people to notice someone who's different, someone who's a woman, someone who's young, and actually prompt them in spaces and say, hey, what's your opinion? And actually create room for people to have an opinion. So that's a thing for the men. Create the room for people to voice their perspectives, and for the young people, just occupy space.
Love that. Thank you.
I think just touching on, going on to trust, working in the gamification space, I was going to say earlier, you're giving away cars as prizes, you're giving away homes, houses. There are so many people that are still putting the phone down, not believing that they've won prizes and actually forfeiting the chance of having
When you're
won.
actually calling them and say, you've won.
Exactly, and I've seen this year and year again. We've been in gamification for 10 years. We distribute prizes on behalf of the networks, hundreds of millions of rands, and there are so many consumers out there that do not trust. And it takes me back to Gogo that used to work for me. To this day, Gogo still pulls out her cash out of her bra. She will not put that money into a mobile payment solution. And I think it's around education, it's around conversations, and it's around leveraging the ability to communicate to another human being to say, I understand your fears, but you've got to get with the times, and this is actually going to accelerate your growth in life. This is going to empower you, your children. This is a way that you can partake in a digital economy and also be at the top of the food chain one day. So there's a lot of education, and I think on the second side, just for women in the tech space, get to understand tech, learn AI. AI is at the forefront of helping you accelerate 10 times faster. Make it your friend. Tech is your friend. Get to know UI, UX. And I always, 20 years later, say, keep it simple. Don't confuse the user. Don't confuse your team. Don't confuse your staff. Keep it simple. And that's best. Thank you.
I have my thanks. Well, in terms of, if we look at the future for mobile payments and digital content services, from my side, I would say there is two main trends that I think would shape the industry and impact people's lives. And this is joining what we just said. I think that there is a huge potential in the growth of mobile payments, integration into various sectors from, transportation to education. And I think that's it's really key to work on these services to make it really accessible and all from different range of services through a single mobile interface. I think it's a game changer. So to have all these services accessible, whatever it's could be buying a bus ticket for, or I was mentioning TV programs, whatever it's. And I think we are all talking about this single marketplace, and all the telco are working on that. I think it's really a game changer for the future. Secondly, I was mentioning localization of content for sure. In my side and in my company, because it's in our DNA to be everywhere, and we believe that it's important to be and to commit. To partner with local creators to develop and to monetize their services, not only to empower, local economies, but also to empower access to users and women users, basically. So, I didn't really thought about, I forgot that question about what would be my advice. My advice, Cecily, it's really to be perseverant and spontaneous. Because most of the time we see lots of women trying to play roles or trying to become men, I would say, in the way they behave, and this is something I think it's to be more spontaneous of what you are. It's something that would gain. It's something that's allow us to move forward and without playing any role. Coming from my side, from North Africa, it's even more difficult because women has a place even more traditionally way of thinking. So, and I'm really, I stick to the idea of that, and being the general manager of that company, which is the hub of Africa in our group, it's something that I'm proud of, and I'm trying to send and share the word to all the women that we have in the company. Each time the 8th of March is very important for us, so that we remind to each, individual and women in the company that to not impose any limits for them. That's just.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. I know the audience would have loved to have asked questions. Please stick around during the networking time to do so, because we have gone over time, I see. Not to continue at any stereotypes about us being women and going over time with how long we needed to talk. But thank you very much. And if I just might add as a little bonus extra, Ray, Misha, having been in the industry specifically with a focus on South Africa going on 13 years now, Mo, you here, John was here, having 3 out of 4 MNOs represented at an event like the same day, to me, very close to my heart. I think excellent, amazing, great you guys are doing that. And as long as we keep an open conversation going among the bunch of us, we'll all still have a healthy industry to be working in 10, 20 years from now. So I think it's the right direction. And thank you again. Thank you, everyone.